Hello, I am PoojaKesari, student of IM Trichy, belonging to PGP 1921 batch, and here I am going to talk about impact of COVID-19 on Indian economy, and I will be taking up agriculture as in particular sector. As we all know, the novel coronavirus has affected n number of countries and has got around 10 lakh cases and more than that, and but before this pandemic also the global economy was struggling, and due to the stunted growth and disruption in the trade flows, but with this pandemic and I think there is going to be more recession. These are the few impacts of the pandemic. First of all, the supply chain has been largely disrupted because of the national and state level lockdowns, and this is making the availability of essential goods also difficult. And secondly, the energy and the commodity sector is facing a demand shock. Of course, there was a lower lower oil prices as a result of price wars, which will work in favor for India as 80% of our oil is imported. But this will not do much in mitigating the present crisis. Thirdly, the social distancing, as we all know, has brought much of the activities to standstill, and especially the restaurant business is facing a hit because of this. And coming to the fourth point, that is appreciation of US dollars, since most of the investors are trying to withdraw their money from other countries and put into US, the US is US dollar is getting appreciated, and thereby the other currencies are facing the hit. And US economy also is facing a fallout because of various reasons like lower consumption, weakened business investments, and also the practice of lower inventory, which is a result of demand and supply shock. Coming to Indian economy, so the GDP noted for the third quarter of 1920 has been the lowest over 6 years. And coming to as we all know, 21-day lockdown has been implemented, and the demand side impact for this would be in the sector of private consumption, mostly in the sector of non-essential goods, as essential goods are working fine, and the non-essential goods have been facing the fall because of abrupt stop in the urban activity, and also because of the lockdown the supply chain has been affected, and this is making the availability of essential commodities also slightly difficult. And this coming to the supply side impact, as we know, China is the latest import source for our country, and in terms of plastics, fertilizers, organic chemicals, electrical machinery, so it is going to affect us largely. But also there is a slight relief because we do not depend on China for any of the intermediate goods, and also the Indian practice of stockpiling the inventory can come handy. Impact of food and agriculture sector. So before that, let us know that this particular sector contributes to 16% of our GDP and also 43% of our employment. And we have global presence in terms of dairy, spices, cashews, and we do have exports in edible oils, dairy, and also we import fertilizers and agrochemicals. So these are few of the lockdown impacts on the agriculture and food sector. First of all, the agri inputs are considered as the essential, so there is no much impact over there. Even the food processing units are exempted from the lockdown, but the export items like tea, rice, meat, spices, and other seafood items are facing a demand contraction right now. The non-essential goods, of course, are facing a hit. And have low demand, like ice cream products and the quick service restaurant based food supplies. And e-commerce platform based food deliveries are also facing a hit and have cash flow constraint because of the reason that the various implementation of the policies have not been propagated properly at the lower level. And edible oil, which is also an export item, will will has faced lower demand, and thus the prices have gone down. Coming to labor movement with respect to various primary agriculture and food processing operations, I think it will take some time because of the reason that the although the government has exempted it from the lockdown, but the policies have not been implemented at the lower level. Coming to policy implementations and the recommendations, first of all, in the sector of food supply chain policy, in the short term, I think there should be zero hurdles for the essential goods, and secondly, there should be strict regulations against the fake social media propagandas, because the poultry industry has been facing a hit because of that, and in turn, the farmers are facing problems. And thirdly, the food packaging should be included in the essential category as of now. And in the long term, I think the existing infrastructure of GST and the FASTag will take care of the smooth movement of the essential goods. And but to improve the productivity of the sector, I think the supply chain should be given priority, and there should be some dedicated transport corridors, and there should be fast approval in with Aadhaar, and they should get passes which will have no stoppage at the borders. Secondly, the financial stress that we are facing, I think in the short term, the RBI has taken care of it, most of it for all the stakeholders in various industries. And in the long term, the agricultural inputs should be given priority at the ports, as I said. And I think for the inventories to be processed, there should be some incentives given for both domestic and export market. Thirdly, the delivery personnel, in the short term, I think there should be given, as there's going to be shortage of labor force, and meeting the demand is going to be difficult in the near future. For that sake, there is temporary staffing happening right now, but again, all the delivery personnel should be given health and life insurance. And Honorable Finance Minister has also announced that they are being given provident fund support, even despite of irrespective of the salary limit. So in the long term for them, I think there should be some registry maintained for all the labor force and based on their Aadhaar, so that the identification becomes easy, and also the movement of labor force in the required state for any agricultural operations will be easier. Lastly, in this slide, I would like to talk about few of the ways that businesses can accommodate in the coming days. Firstly, the supply chain has to be resilient and also come up with new strategies, because the perishable goods like vegetables, fruits should have a smooth flow in the supply chain. And secondly, building agility, that means that factories can, since there's going to be shortage of labor force, I think the existing workforce can extend and try to meet the demand. And thirdly, the since we are not able to do some of the exports, we can divert that to the domestic market. And of course, digital going is going to get a great push in these days. And cash is going to be of primary importance, as the investment will happen in the form of physical assets. And with this point of insulating the rural production areas is mostly to secure our food sector for the future, in the future. And lastly, it's good to have variable cost models. That's all in this PPT. Thank you.